Okay, welcome everyone. We are back with another episode in our series For the Love of Star Wars. We bring in a special guest to talk about a favourite piece of Star Wars media, be it a film, episode of a TV show, documentary, or other. And this week, our guest has picked something a little bit out there. So let's bring him in to talk about it. It's Mr. Dez T. How are you, Dez?
Hey, Dez.
Good evening, gents.
Welcome
How's
back.
it
Special guest.
All our guests are special guests, but you're especially special.
Absolutely.
Very kind of you to say so.
So, Des, what Star Wars media have you chosen to talk about this week?
Coming a bit out about left field. Oh, we can see that.
Yeah,
Nice.
Fanboys.
Great. Absolutely great.
First off, Des, and without giving too much away, because we will get into it, what made you pick this?
It's to pick a certain. When you initially asked me, the first thing that sprang to mind was Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
It's out of all the Star Wars that just rises to the top. Because I suppose when I watched it for the first time, the age I was, the merchandise, the figures that came with it, sort of. But then I thought, is that a bit too obvious? And then you go down the road of some of the sort of newer media. I could have picked anything from Andor. I think any episode from Andor, I could have done. And then you think, well, if I pick that, well, what about that? And then I sort of sat and thought about it for a day or two, and I thought, coming at it from a different angle, something like Fanboys.
Yeah.
Well, and I asked Martin the question, and he said yes.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great choice. Let's give a few stats on this particular film. It was released in 2009, 10 years after the release of The Phantom Menace, when the film was set, of course. It was directed by Kyle Newman, who is probably a big Star Wars fan or George Lucas fan, as he's been involved in a number of Star Wars-related projects as director or producer, including Return of the Jedi. Have you guys seen those? Seen that?
I saw that in Germany for Celebration 2016. Okay. 13 even, sorry, beg your pardon, 2013. Kyle Newman was actually there, and he showed it on this big screen. It was basically lots of people involved or fans of Return of the Jedi in this documentary. It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Pretty good. Cool. Des, not seen that one?
No, not that I know. I might have seen it and not realised that's what it's called. But it certainly doesn't sort of spring to mind.
Another
put it on the list.
Put it on the list. Another interesting Star Wars project that he's worked on: A Disturbance in the Force. How the Star Wars Holiday Special happened. Either of you seen that one?
No.
I've not seen it. However, I'll quickly tell you this. I often talk about this podcast that I listen to called Rebel Force Radio, and it used to be called the Force Cast. Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack, they've been doing Star Wars podcasting for nearly 20 years, and I've listened to them for about 16 years. And Kyle Newman's quite a semi-regular contributor to the podcast, and when he was making Fanboys, he'd often come on to promote the film. And he always comes on after a series has been released or a movie comes out to talk about that, because he's such a Star Wars fan, and he's so knowledgeable about Star Wars, and he's a real old school Star Wars fan. You know, he loves the prequels and he loves the original trilogy, and he's absolutely fascinating to listen to when it comes to Star Wars. So there's absolutely no surprise of mine that he's done all these projects about Star Wars.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Awesome.
The biggest named writer in this film is Adam F. Goldberg, who is probably best known for the show The Goldbergs, which I believe is loosely based around his childhood. Don't know.
Not seen it.
IMDb, it's quite good. I've seen it a couple of times. Yeah, IMDb give this a rating of 6.5 out of 10, which I think is a bit sad because it's very underappreciated, I think. So that's the stats. Des, let's get into it. What is it you love about this film?
It's the classic road trip movie. You know, it's about a group of friends that grew up together, and then as a lot of people do, they move apart. They just drift apart, I suppose is the way. And then it's about them meeting up again at a chance party, and discovering, unfortunately, that one of them's got a terminal illness, and how they reconcile to sort of do the trip that they always wished to do as kids. I don't think episode 1 was the thing they wanted to do as kids. Obviously, that wouldn't have been about, but they want to break into Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah.
And it's everything that goes from getting from A to B.
Yeah.
The
Everything in between.
that happen in between. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm a big fan of comedies anyway, so this is great. It's got good cast, and they hit all the Star Wars references just right. I think, don't they? They get it just right.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's too much subtle.
There's quite a lot of Easter eggs, I think, just hidden away nicely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all pretty good. And it on this viewing, it brought back my crush on Kristen Bell. I've got to admit. So, yeah. But yeah, Martin, what are your thoughts on the film?
Yeah,
Obviously a big fan.
Yeah, much like Dez, my favourite films in my sort of late teens, early 20s were the American Pie, Road Trip. I think that there is a film called Road Trip, which I absolutely loved. Yeah. All those films, and this is kind of harkens back to those a little bit because obviously this was a bit later than that trend. But you take that genre of film, which I really love, and then you add Star Wars into it, and it's just a funny film. Some of it. I watched it yesterday again for I think the first time in a long time, and I was laughing through most of it. Some of it hasn't dated amazingly well in a short amount of time, I will be honest, but for the most part, it's absolutely superb. And I pulled out the Blu-ray that I've got, and the special features on it and the deleted scenes are just as good as the film. So I can highly recommend this film to anybody who hasn't seen it, who loves Star Wars or loves the old school late 90s, early 2000s films that came out. Sort of it's not really gross out, is it? But kind of the lads road trip kind of movies. Yeah, it's great, really, really good.
Do you think the obviously, like I said, the rating wasn't very high. Do you think that's the non-Star Wars fans that have probably dropped that rating down? Do you think most Star Wars fans would enjoy this film?
I think so. Yeah. I think there's a lot of things like Family Guy. The episodes like the
Blue Harvest.
The names now. Blue Harvest. It's
something
dark side.
Yeah, and it's
it's not laughing at Star Wars. It's
no,
just laughing with Star Wars. It's a big difference. Yeah. It's just that. It's just it's fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree, Dez. I think it does the complete opposite of taking the mickey Star Wars. I think it shows Star Wars in the absolute highest of respects because it means so much to these characters, and they'll do anything in order to get a chance for their friend, his last chance to see episode 1 before it comes out, and they live their lives, much like I do, around Star Wars. There's always some aspect of my day that, whether it be I pick up an action figure or I'm humming a John Williams tune or whatever, or I'm thinking of a moment that I've seen something happen in a shop or something, and it reminds me of a scene in Star Wars. I don't know, but this is the kind of love that this film has for Star Wars, and I think you're right, Adam. It's definitely probably
it's the hardcore Trekkies that are putting this film down. I think
those scenes are just so
Oh, that's funny.
It's just words escape. It's just hilarious.
Yeah. Well, let's get into scenes then. Is there a particular scene in this film that you'd pick out as like your favourite or something that?
I think there's lots of little scenes and little nuances in certain scenes. The comic book store quite early on, when the two Trekkies come in, and how much is the phaser, and Hutch just sort of rinses him. It's get the hell out of my store. You know, it's just, you know,
you can pick
it's
so
just
many.
funny.
You can pick from so many
Yeah.
like scenes,
Yeah.
can't you? Of this
Yeah.
film, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The statue destroyed scene, you know, and then the mooning. You know, if you try to explain to some of the younger folks now what a mooning is,
Yeah.
you sticking your ass out of a window. What? But you know, it's just funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it could be a generational thing that we find funny, but yeah, it's still funny.
Yeah,
it's still funny either way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Have you got a particular scene that you'd pick out, Martin?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's so many great scenes. I think I really enjoyed the scene where they go to Iowa. You know, the birthplace of Captain Kirk, and you know, I think Des just mentioned it, and you know, they're trying to pick a fight with the Star Trek fans. What I'll do in the edit is I'll stick a little clip of that in now.
What is the Klingon translation for "You're gonna die a virgin"?
Yep, that's what, okay. Hilarious, everyone. Looks like we got more Lucas hounds here to mock Roddenberry. Congratulations, gentlemen, but I would like to see your Darth Vader take on one Borg drone. We'll see who's laughing then, am I right?
Darth Vader could put the entire Borg collective in a vice grip with his mind.
I hate to break it to you losers, but Han Solo's a bitch.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
Is there a problem here?
Yeah, that sure is, Spock. The Admiral here just called Han Solo a bitch.
Good one.
It's pretty strong words for a Trekkie.
Okay, well, Trekkie is derogatory at this point in the game. Trekker is what we're called now. Trekker.
Yeah, it's so funny, that scene. I was in tears watching it yesterday because I mean, I love Star Trek, not quite as much as Star Wars, but I love Star Trek. You know, I've seen all the Star Treks there are. You know, I'm a big fan of all of the sort of 90s, 2000s stuff. I really love Star Trek, but even I can see that the hilarity of Star Wars versus Star Trek in this film is absolutely brilliant. And what's the line?
Now! Get out of here, you Kirk-loving Spock suckers!
You Kirk-loving Spock sucker is one of the greatest lines in cinema, as far as I'm concerned. It's absolutely hilarious. And, you know, again, Steph was sat next to me as I was watching it, and she was giggling a little bit here or there, but I was in absolute tears of laughter at that scene. I love it. But then there's so many, as Des says, and you say, Adam, little scenes. There's the great bit where William Shatner just appears from the shadows, and he's the one who's giving out the but that scene's paid off later. Yeah. And that scene's paid off later when the security guard at Lucas Ranch, or Skywalker Ranch, says, "Was this William Shatner?" You know, it's brilliant because obviously George Lucas and William Shatner have this jokey sort of rivalry going on, and they have done for years. Which how cool is that they added that in? The cameos, you've got Billy D. Williams, you've got Carrie Fisher,
fantastic, aren't they? Yeah,
you got Ray Park as one of the security guards. And he's doing Darth Maul flips with his batons, which is brilliant. And you've got all the security guards wearing THX 1138 masks as part of their uniform, which is absolutely superb. I mean, it's just hands down funny most of the way through. I don't want to ruin it too much if you haven't seen it, but I say this every episode. Stop it now. Come back to this.
Go watch it.
It's on Amazon Prime, I believe, and then come back.
It does get a bit weird after the not weird when they have the tire blows out and they go to the bar.
Oh yeah.
And then they meet the chief.
Yeah.
And that gets a bit.
Yeah.
But it's soon over, and then that sort of explains itself, and then they're on their way again.
No, I agree, Des. That was probably the weakest part of the film, but it's only about 5 minutes, isn't it? So you kind of just.
I mean, anything to get in Machete. What's his name? Who plays Machete? It's gone.
Oh, he was the Rancor keeper as well in the boat.
Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo, yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I know why that went.
Yeah, well done, Des. Yeah.
Yes.
Writ down.
Yeah, so many good cameos in this.
No, I'm not being a big movie buff. Is that one of Seth Rogen's earliest films?
Couldn't tell you. It's early for him, I think, but he probably was about a fair bit before.
And he does play the two characters as well.
He does,
he?
yeah.
Yeah,
The
he does,
hardcore
yeah.
Star Trek fan, the hardcore Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
This film actually was filmed in 2006, and when it was finished, there was massive wrangling about the cut of the film, and the Weinstein Company reordered reshoots, and they created their own cut of the film, which wasn't Kyle Newman's cut. And it took after they filmed it in 2006, obviously 4 more years for it actually to be released. And I even believe, I mean, someone might correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe even the cut that we've watched isn't Kyle Newman's final cut. It's more the studio cut. So 2006, if they filmed this, then yeah, it would have been one of Seth Rogen's earliest films, I would imagine.
He does look young in this. So yeah, breaking into Skywalker Ranch, is that the sort of thing you might have got up to as a young Dez?
I'd have outplanned it, and I'd have sort of made sure everything was planned correctly, but I wouldn't have gone through it. No way would you have gone through with it.
Yeah.
But there's a funny thing in the deleted scenes when they're trying to when they're breaking in with the van, and the security guard's got six fingers, and they just make reference to that all the while, and it's just good, good fun. Yeah, I don't think I'd have gone through with breaking into it.
Oh, not something. Is it something on your bucket list, Martin? Do you think?
I would love, take away breaking into Skywalker Ranch. I would love to visit Skywalker Ranch, and I think it's not like something you can just turn up to and go around, but there are ways of going there to visit. There's certain events that they hold every year, and it'd be wonderful to get a ticket. Obviously you won't get into the archives or anything, but just saying you're standing on the hallowed ground of Skywalker Ranch would be every Star Wars fan's dream, and you never know. One day we might get the opportunity to all go out there, but I doubt it. But yeah, it would be amazing, wouldn't it?
In that final scene, is that how you guys would imagine the archives would look with all the memorabilia in there?
Oh no, I've seen the archives.
Oh, is it common knowledge what they look like?
There's several behind the scenes videos of the archives and many pictures of the archives, and it's just a treasure trove of the original and prequel trilogy in there. It's just incredible stuff. You must have seen it, Des.
Yeah. It's whether it's like for like exactly, possibly not, but yeah, it's going to be that sort of glass cases and all that memorabilia. Not just Star Wars, but Willow's wand.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think if you go on to the Mandalorian season 1 documentary they released on Disney Plus, there's a scene where Dave Filoni takes Jon Favreau and a few other people to the archives, and you can actually see it in that behind the scenes video. If I remember correctly, that's one of the places you can see it. But yeah, everything's temperature controlled in there. It's not in glass cases. It's all in boxes, and it's all really well protected because 40 years odd later, a lot of it would be quite fragile, I think. And I think the second Death Star that's in there has had to be repaired because it was starting to decompose and stuff. So sorry, tangent.
Good knowledge. Good knowledge. Now there was report of a sequel which would involve the group crashing the set of Attack of the Clones. Is that something you would have liked to have seen? And could they still make it with like a different cast, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose it's almost a one and done, I suppose, film. But it'd have been interesting to see how they'd have gone on with that. What makes, I think, the film, unfortunately, with Linus being terminally ill, that's the reason to go. That's the reason him and Eric get back together again. So how they'd have played that out, the reason to go.
Their love of Star Wars in general, maybe.
I agree with Des. I think it's a one and done. I don't think you can really do it a second one. I think it would be lesser, wouldn't it, without Linus? One little fact I did read, which I thought was really interesting. What's the name of the chap with the glasses? Was it Eric? You say, Des?
Eric.
No.
Eric is the
Windows.
the car salesman.
Windows. Sorry, yeah, Windows. Yeah, so Windows. I didn't notice this until I read the bit of trivia, but he's got the black curly sort of all over the place hair and the black rimmed glasses. They based his look on George Lucas from the 70s, and now you know that, you see it, don't you? It's incredible.
You can't see it, yeah. Once seen them, never seen it. Yeah.
That's
cool.
Good knowledge. Yeah, good. What have we got? Any extra additional notes to go with this that you've picked out?
First of all, Adam, you haven't given us your favourite scene.
My favourite scene? Well, yeah, like you guys say. Oh, there are so many. I think mine, though, is when they break into the archives, when they get into Skywalker Ranch, and you see Ray Park as the security guard, and all the other guys cameo, and I think there's Craig Robinson. There's so many. Well, like they probably weren't well known back then, but are pretty well known now. A lot of the actors, and they quite often do films and TV shows together, don't they? You know, the only person missing, I think, was Will Ferrell. But the memorabilia, the bit where they're all doing the Mexican standoff with the pieces of memorabilia, I think has got to be my favourite.
But they know they'll never do it.
Yeah,
what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that bit had me in hysterics. Yeah, I love that bit. So, yeah. I think that's got to be my pick for my favourite scene from the film. Yeah, Des, over to you. Did you have some additional notes?
Just things like in the and I was laughing about it today at work. In the deleted scenes when they're in the in the Falcon, and they do the Yub Nub song, that it's just hilarious. You've got to see it to appreciate it.
Yeah.
How they sort of hold down and then come back up again. Things like when they go to the drive-through, and the camera's on the girl serving them, and then she looks up and in shock, and you see the people, her perspective, and they're all got the stormtrooper helmets on, and they all sort of one all sort of look out like that. Just little things like that.
Yeah,
it's just a good sort of good chuckle.
Yeah,
definitely.
Constantly ticking over.
Definitely. Is it one of your go-tos? Do you go, if you need a laugh, stick that on?
I'd say so, but that's the first time I've watched it, say last week and then last night, for a good few years. So
is it? Yeah.
But it's brushing down the DVD player.
Oh yeah.
As well,
I mean, I think we've covered most things. Have you got anything to add, Martin? Here we go.
I've got. Well, normally at this point when we've done this show, Adam would ask, "What makes this feel like Star Wars to you?" And I can understand why he's probably thought this isn't really
probably not the same, is it?
To ask, no, but I was thinking about this today because I thought, well, Adam's probably not going to ask this question because it doesn't really make sense because it's a comedy that involves Star Wars. But I was thinking, well, why is this sort of this in my mind such a great story and funny film? And we all know, obviously, Star Wars, the original Star Wars was based on the hero's journey. Luke's going off on an adventure. It's based on Joseph Campbell, isn't it? And all of the myths and legends that have been passed down through stories over thousands of years. And I'm not going to be saying that this film's that deep by any stretch of the imagination, but if you think about it, there's obviously Linus, who's terminally ill, and his friends, they want to do one last great thing for him before he passes away, so they all band together on this journey, albeit comedic journey, to try and get him that last wish that he's always wanted because he loves this thing so much. And I kind of feel like, although it's not quite the same, it's along the same lines as a hero's journey type story. And whether I'm certain that that's intentional, to be honest with you, because of how much of a fan I think Kyle Newman is of Star Wars in general, and I think for me personally, I love all the funny stuff. I love the characters, the cameos, everything. But there's also quite a heart to this film as well, and I feel like although the ending is sad because Linus obviously passes away eventually, but he still managed to have his wish at the end of it. And I think there's something great to be said about that. And I think that's why this is probably one of those films for me personally that I'll probably go back to from time to time, because it makes you laugh, it makes you cry. It's entertaining. And it feels like Star Wars, and some of those characters in it. We can all kind of, as Star Wars fans, relate to some of those characters. I mean, I can relate. I can see a little bit of Hutch in me, some of the movie, and then I can see a little bit of Windows. I can see a bit of him in me. Especially when I was, dating women and stuff. I mean, back when I was like a youngster, he's totally me. And so that's all I've got to say, really. I mean, is this the strongest comedy anyone's ever going to watch? Probably not. But if you're a Star Wars fan, there's something in this for you. There really is. And if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's brilliant.
Definitely.
Brilliant film.
Yeah,
brilliant.
On that note, quickly, Des, who would you liken yourself to from the gang?
Probably Eric wants to do it, but then you've got to toe the line.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I'd want to be Hutch, because Hutch is just lovable,
Yeah. But Windows gets Kristen Bell. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. That is a good point.
Yeah.
There's so much unrealistic stuff in that film. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Good. Well, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed getting to watch the film again. So, Des, always good to have you on and have a chat. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks everyone out there for watching. Like and subscribe as always. Let us know in the comments if you're a fanboy or girl of Fanboys. I'm off to start my new life with Kristen Bell. So, Martin, we'll catch you in the next one. We'll see you later.
Bye.